Hello guys, welcome to a new video. It's been a long time, I know, things have been a bit chaotic lately. So this was a video that I wanted to make for a while. At first I planned to focus just on Lara Croft and the drastic change in her personality. I had already done one about her appearance, so I thought it would be interesting to do the same for her personality. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized it's not just Lara. A lot of game characters have become more serious and less fun over time. I noticed the same thing with characters I love, like Bioneta. I really miss when games didn't try so hard to be realistic, when developers could be more creative, throw in random and unique ideas and go completely over the top. So how did these characters change? Let's start with Lara. Classic Lara is incredibly confident. There's never really a moment where she doubts her own abilities. Most of the time she looks like she knows exactly what she's doing. I say most of the time because, well, in Tomb Raider 4 she accidentally released a god and started an apocalypse. So yeah, she can make mistakes too. Sarcasm is one of the things that defines classic Lara and makes her so funny and memorable. It shows she's not afraid of her enemies, either because she doesn't take them seriously or because she sees them as a waste of her time. Or maybe she just can't help but to speak her mind. Her sarcasm is often mixed with a playful side, which gives her a unique personality. She doesn't show much vulnerability or empathy, but that doesn't mean she doesn't feel those things. The graphics of the time also made emotional expression harder to show. Still, I don't think classic Lara was as cold as some people say. For example, in Tomb Raider 2, she doesn't ask the monk if he's okay, but she does check his chest wound and feels his pulse. In Chronicle, she tries to save the submarine captain, so those small things do show she has a heart. Another thing I love about her is her being so classy, you know? It probably comes from her upper class background, but even her acrobatics have this graceful, almost effortless style to them. And the fact that she became a Tomb Raider simply because she loves it as a way to escape the boring life of an aristocrat makes her even cooler. It's such a rare and interesting backstory for a main character. On the other hand, Survivor Lara is written to be more relatable by showing a lot of more emotions. But sometimes it's a bit too much. The number of times she breaks down crying feels excessive. Her determination often comes from a place of desperation or obsession, and to me that's not necessarily a good thing. She does what she does because she feels obligated to stop evil organizations and follow in her father's footsteps. And honestly, that's a pretty overused storyline. In contrast, classic Lara explored because she really loved it. Her curiosity and passion felt more real and personal, and not driven by trauma or legacy. That's what made her cool, a strong, smart woman doing her own thing, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. She wasn't weighed down by emotional baggage or someone else's mission. Shadow of the Tomb Raider managed to turn Lara into an annoying character. I never thought I would say that Lara Croft is annoying, but yeah, at least for me. One moment that really bothered me was the tsunami scene. She caused it, killed a bunch of people, others were still needing help, and instead of actually doing something, she just stood there crying and screaming with that annoying dramatic voice while Jonah was trying to save lives. I hate when she talks like that. And after all that destruction, does she help anyone? No, she just stares at the chaos she created. Yet people say this Lara isn't heartless. How? There are other moments I really disliked, like when Jonah was clearly worried about the weather and she just brushed it off with, "It's just a bit of rain." Then you get this cool, cinematic where she emerges from the water like a badass, only to start crying seconds later when she sees John. It's hard to feel sorry for Lara when she spends half of the time being an annoying, selfish prick. She constantly pulls this poor me expression and it just feels forced. What also doesn't help is that the developers kept promising for years that we'd see her become the badass we all know, but they never delivered. With each new game, it felt like they took a step back. At the end of Tomb Raider 2013, you think she's finally going to use the iconic dual pistols in the next game, but nope. Then Rise of the Tomb Raider ends with a hint that she will stop chasing her father's legacy and start her own path, but no again. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is basically Rise all over again, just with different characters and locations. And even in the Netflix anime, you hope she will stop crying, but somehow she cries even more than in the games. It's crazy. Out of the Survivor trilogy, Tomb Raider 2013 was the one that intrigued me the most. It made sense for her to be desperate and scared, and she was just starting out. But there were glimpses of the classic, ironic and daring Lara starting to emerge. I love, for example, her sarcastic response to Reyes in that one scene.
He was still on the ship.
Seems anyone caught with you has a pretty low survival rate.
Reyes!
Better keep your distance then.
Let's just eat, okay?
It felt like old Lara was slowly coming back. For anyone who played the Reboot trilogy, did you also feel like the voice actor in Shadow sometimes sounded tired or bored? Because I really got that impression. Overall, it feels like they tried to turn Lara into a hero instead of the anti-hero she was. And the way they went about it, it's weird. This new Lara doesn't seem to want to help people. She's just obsessed with her own personal goals and, ironically, kills way more people than classic Lara ever did. Considering the type of game Tomb Raider is, turning her into a traditional hero just doesn't make sense. It doesn't work. My second favorite female video game character also changed, but for the worse. And while I kind of understand what they were trying to do with Lara, I have no idea what the developers were thinking with Bayonetta in the third game. I waited so long for Bayonetta 3, expecting it to be amazing, but it really wasn't. Usually it happens a lot with games that we wait years and years and then they are not very good. In the first two games, Bioneta was confident, sassy, funny, seductive, determined, and playful. She was also protective. She cared about people like Syriza, Luca, John, and always tried to keep them safe. In Bayonetta 3, she has no personality at all. She's just there, showing almost no emotion. Her relationships with other characters feel empty. She's cold, distant, and all over the place, and there's no clear reason why. There are so many scenes where she says nothing, when the original Bionetta would always have something clever or bold to say. For example, in one scene she doesn't say a single word. How is that even possible? Even when she fights the first enemy, she's silent for almost the entire fight and only speaks at the end. She loses control over summon and uses some ancient power, but again, no reaction, nothing. She watches the enemies destroy the city and she doesn't even look that concerned. When she finally sees John again, they barely say one word to each other. These two, used to be iconic together. Even the spider talks more than Bionetta.
You're a tough one, aren't you? Reminds me of the master. Alright. It seems like the strands of fate bind us. I'll stick with you for a while.
So basically, no shock, no self-reflection, no emotional breakdown, not even confusion about the whole multiverse situation, or the fact that she just saw herself die. There's no emotion depth at all. It happens again with the second Bayonetta. She doesn't seem to care. We have like 2 Bayonettas on screen. This could be like such a cool, fun and iconic moment, but no, instead we get this. Why did she use her pistols instead of summoning a demon? She only calls it after they die. It's just bad repetitive writing. Now compare that to how Bayonetta reacts when John dies in the previous games. In the third one, she only screams her name and doesn't even try to save her. It's the other Bayonetta who steps in, and again, barely any interaction. Even her moment with her mother is weak. She just makes the usual sad face, and there's like nothing like a beautiful goodbye line or something like, I don't know, more emotional. It's like your mother, you just shoot your mother. You don't even cry. At least Lara Croft, when she shoot her mother, she cried a bit. There's also that weird scene where the enemies do a ridiculous dance. That would have been like the perfect time for Bayonetta to throw out a silly or sarcastic comment, but this version of Bayonetta just stands there, silent. On the other hand, the interactions in Bayonetta 1 and 2 are so much more fun and well developed. Bayonetta shows real emotion when John dies or when she thinks Loki is dead. And the funny conversations, they are like so good. One thing I really loved about Bayonetta in the first games was how she would show her like true emotions, and then when she realized everything was okay, she pretended that she hadn't been worried and act like tough. She doesn't like to show weak emotions, if you know what I mean. She did that a lot with Syriza and Loki, and it was sweet and funny. And I love how when someone annoyed her, she just kicked them away without hesitation. You can really see how Bayonetta looks at Syriza with like such care and love, and that goodbye scene, it's so lovely. In the third game you don't have scenes like this. It's all so superficial. Something the original Bayonetta used to do a lot, and it was always fun, was talk to her enemies. With her witty lines made those moments entertaining. She also struck more stylish poses and had more charisma in her movements, especially in the first game.
I feel like a fucking celebrity in this town. See that? Everyone rushes at me like crazed fans. They still haven't figured out that I don't give autographs.
And let's not forget how John saves Bayonetta at the end of the first game. You can feel how deeply she cares about her, like a sister. After that, they team up and go into a final fight together in a epic way. But in Bayonetta 3, even the final dance scene is disappointing, and the fact that they were trying to replace her with Viola doesn't help. Sorry to Viola fans, but to me she just feels annoying, cringe and a bit forced. I also don't like the idea that the previous bios are different versions and not the same person. The multiverse seems like an excuse when you don't know what to do with the story. You can blame the multiverse for everything. In Bayonetta 1 and 2, she was bold, stylish and just like Lara, an anti-heroine, but in Bayonetta 3, her personality feels like toned down. She's more serious, but not in a compelling way, and often acts in ways that don't match her character. That shift was a big letdown. So this was the two main characters. I thought about Leon, but I think Leon is a bit complicated because, I don't know, sometimes he feels the same character and at the same time no. But like, I think the best comparison would be between Resident Evil 4, the original one, and the remake. The difference is bigger, and I kind of miss the original Leon personality, but the new one still looks like a bit sarcastic, you know? Not so fun like the original, but still sarcastic, and makes sense for him to be a bit more serious. I don't think it's that bad. So maybe I will leave Leon for a different video. Then I wanted to mention Lady from Devil May Cry. Yes, I'm very random with the characters, but it's not so much how she changed, but she did in Devil May Cry 4, and I wasn't a big fan of that. She was like just candy for the eyes, let's say. But in Devil May Cry 5, she went back to her usual self, even if she didn't have like a big role, so it's kind of hard to evaluate, but at least of appearance she looked more like herself. What I really wanted to say is that I love those crazy over-the-top action scenes. They are like so fun and cool, even if they are totally unrealistic. I kind of miss the time when developers weren't afraid to do random wild things just for fun. So yeah, I miss seeing female characters in those insane action moments doing things that are bold, stylish, and completely over the top. And I feel like I just wanted to mention Lady because of this type of cutscenes, but I also feel like it happens a bit with the previous characters that I mentioned. I think Bayonetta still does, but not as good. And Lara Croft also used to do those crazy action scenes, especially in Tomb Raider Legend, but not anymore. Now everything is very realistic and boring. I'm not saying every character has to be the same as before, but I do think it's important to keep what made them special in the first place, because if you think that, it's not them anymore. Let me know, what do you think? Did you notice these changes too? Do you miss old versions of these characters, or do you like the new direction? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Also, don't forget to leave a like to help the video reach more people, and subscribe for more videos. Until next time, bye bye!